When I prepare for a fishing trip, I always check the weather, including wind, flows, and water temps. This trip was in late summer, but there was a bump in flows from a rainstorm, so I knew the water would be a little bit off color, which turned out to be absolutely ideal.
That felt good.
All these are little caddis cases. There's a mayfly nymph, another mayfly nymph. Some little eggs. That's one rock. Just all these caddis cases. See how the green on the peeping caddis fly matches the natural larva. So that might be something good to put on today. Fly selection isn't always straightforward, so I always turn over rocks and seine the river. This helps me match the hatch and makes nymphing more of a science than a lottery. Since the water was off color, I used slightly larger and flashier flies so the fish would see my offerings. Today we found caddis larvae, mayfly nymphs, and stoneflies. Off-color water like this, the fish will hang along the edges where the water is slightly clearer. If that's the case, cast and work your way upstream. The most important thing while nymphing is to get a good drift. You want your flies to move exactly like the naturals. Also, don't grow roots. Keep moving while you're nymphing and adjust your depth and weight before changing flies. I nymph with a 10-foot rod so I can high stick more efficiently on the other side of the river. If you make a good drift but don't get a take, adjust your landing spot. Sometimes casting upstream a few more feet will create a more natural drift. Small adjustments can pay large dividends. The fish want an area of slower moving water that also provides cover from predators, like this. Always look downstream and think about where you're going to land a fish before you even cast. Trust me, I've learned the hard way on this one. So many fish take on your first cast in a new area, so always be ready. When fighting a fish, try to fight them towards you right away so they can't use any structure to their advantage. I always try to get downstream in order to bring the fish to my net rather than reaching downstream for the scoop. I've lost plenty of fish that way as well. This fish swam toward a stick pointing out of the water to try and get off, but I was able to corral it calmly into my net. I never get tired of catching beautiful brown trout. Big caddis that I tied last night. I have a video for this on my YouTube channel. Check it out. So, one thing I don't think people take enough stock in or account in is making their own leaders. So I make my own nymphing leaders, and I start with 25-pound test chameleon line, and then I do a double surgeon's knot to a cider material. This happens to be scientific angler cider material, and then I link it to a really tiny number 40 scientific angler swivel. And from the swivel, you think about it, you can attach as much tippet as you want. But a wiser man than me told me, use lighter tippet here because it sinks faster in the water. So I'm going to attach 5X to this. My first fly, 5.5X maybe to the second. And then if I do a third fly, I'll use 6X, even though the water's a little bit off color. I don't want to scare the fish. I use Trout Hunter fluorocarbon tippet exclusively. I think it's really amazing stuff. A little quick tip too is I always have the water in the background when I'm trying to get the tippet through, because it's a lot easier to see in order to tie my knot. And then if I have the background of the water, which is obviously a little off color, it's a lot easier to see. Every day on the water is a blessing, and catching fish is pretty fun too. That's a big tail. So he ate the Pat's rubber legs in the fast water. Look at the colors on that thing. Now this is called the adipose. See how that's orange? That's a beauty. Look at this. Look at that tail though. That's why he had a lot of power. He went, you know where he did? He went right for that rock. And I had to yank him out of there into the slow water. I always take in my surroundings and just enjoy the outdoors when I'm out on the water. Like so many people, it's a place I can just hit reset and take in all of nature's splendor. Always cast upstream. This goes without saying, but the key to nymphing is to practice. It has taken me years to improve, but it's worth it. Using a shorter rig with heavier flies will get you more takes, especially in pocket water. I used to be a dry fly only fisherman, but once I learned the intricacies of nymphing, I realized that it can be just as fun as watching a trout rise to eat a well-presented dry fly. This trip was successful because I took my own advice, which fly fishers, like myself, tend to neglect. I knew the rain would lead to off-color water and also churn up those stoneflies. I also knew that the slightly higher water temps meant that fish would be holding in the faster water, which contains more oxygen. Someone once told me that the difference between a 3-fish day and a 30-fish day lies in the details. Stay safe and tight lines.